when you do see what I went through, and then all of a sudden at this live event where, 160 people from all over the country and Canada came to, and it was bizarre. Like, it was like almost an out-of-body experience.
That's what we want to do here. We want to take you to the next level. We want you to achieve your goals.
Coming to you live from FXV Digital Design in beautiful Wyomissing, Pennsylvania, it's Fred Talk, the awesome podcast featuring awesome people. Visit us online at fxvdigital.com and your favorite social networks at FXV Digital. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification button so you never miss an episode. I am your host, Freddie Vasquez, and with me is my producer and cure half, Angie Wicks. And today we have the honor of speaking with Justin Schenck, successful entrepreneur, public speaker, and podcaster. Brother, what's going on, man?
I am so happy. I've never seen that intro before. That makes me so happy. Like, I was smiling the whole time. You didn't look at me, but I was smiling the whole time.
I could kind of see it. I was like, let me read. I can't wait to have it memorized so I don't have to do the whole like reading thing still. Yeah, man. Thanks for coming in, and congrats on the 4 Pillars.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Event you just hosted a couple weekends ago in Philly, right?
Yeah, man. It was, it's funny. COVID shifts your business a little bit. And obviously, as you know, being a big part of helping with the website for the live events and stuff like that, COVID decided to tell me not to do live events. And so as I kind of went on, I was like, how do I continue to make an impact and go deep with people and help them kind of build the life that they want? And this idea of retreats kind of came about. And as I was going through some things and rewriting some talks and coming up with some new content, the 4 Pillars came about, which is business, relationships, wellness, and spirituality. And I started talking about these things as like, this is essentially like the foundation of everybody's life. If we're able to pour into these 4 pillars continuously, that's where happiness comes from. That's where fulfillment comes from. And I really started talking about that, and it started to light a fire into the small audience that I was able to get in front of during COVID. And I was like, let's just do a retreat, around that. And obviously next week's guest, Adam, was a part of that. He helped co-facilitate along with my girlfriend, Lauren, who is a nutritionist and a yoga teacher. And we were able to focus on those 4 pillars, and we had a ton of fun, man. We went super deep. There was a lot of breakthroughs. And it was something I fell in love with. Now we're doing another one in October in New Orleans, which is incredible.
That's killer, man. What do you feel was the biggest takeaway from this retreat that you just hosted?
It was funny. We had a follow-up call with them last night, like the attendees and everything. And that question was asked by an attendee, like, what did you take away from, like, me, Lauren, and Adam? What did you take away from it? And for me, it was that confirmation of worthiness with the direction that I was going in. Continuing to double down on helping individuals at a deep level. Like, sometimes you question yourself, like, am I good enough to be that person? Am I the person that should be leading that? And so for me, my big takeaway was I am. It was that extra layer of confidence. It was that extra nod from the universe, like, yeah, this is where you belong. And continuing to say, this is maybe the path that I go in these small, intimate retreat, like, settings versus the big live events. I think I'll do the live event again just because it's a ton of fun. But just being able to go deep with people and help them in the way that we did was amazing.
Well, do you dig it more than podcasting in a live event? Like, do you think this retreat is better, essentially, if I can dare ask that question?
I think it's different. So obviously I love the podcast, and for me, the podcast is the catalyst for everything else. Like I always say, if you have a message or a purpose or whatever you're trying to do, you can find the vehicle to help you do that, right? But there's always a vehicle, whether it's social media, YouTube, podcasts, whatever. My vehicle happened to be podcasting. And so that drives everything else. That drives the speakers I bring in. We're going to have guest speakers at the next retreat, so that'll drive that. That drives the audience. That drives my brand, all the stuff. So it's different. Now, do I like it more? I think it hits different. Like it gets real personal. Seeing the people, make the growth versus just knowing people are listening. I think that's different. And then obviously the podcast is my way to connect with people that I admire, the people that I've followed for a long time, and I get from them, and then I'm able to kind of connect with them and build a friendship.
So you think that going on these retreats, you think that the people that obviously attended and had a great time there, you saw a difference in that short span of days between how they came in and how they went out?
Whew, yeah. I mean, it was huge. I mean, we had massive breakthroughs, in any of the 4 pillars, right? So we had people leave there and immediately start booking podcasts as a guest to help grow their brand. We had people leave relationships afterwards because of the breakthroughs they had.
I know that one.
Yeah.
And that was killer because her mom talked to me this morning and she was like, did Christina, I'm like, yeah, Christina talked to me last week and she told me what was going on. I'm like, wow, that's intense. And she's like, she went to that retreat with Justin. And I was like, interesting. She's like, yeah. And when she came out of it, it was over. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that's killer, man.
Yeah. I think, we did something at the retreat called a letter ceremony, which is something that I've done in my own personal life. And it was super impactful. And I've done it twice, actually. The first one was I wrote a letter to my mom. So my mom passed away a little over 5 years ago. And I wrote a letter to my mom, kind of saying everything that made me angry, everything that I loved about her, all the things in a letter. And then you set it on fire and you let it go. And it's like that symbolization of like letting go of these weights that you're carrying, right? And then the second time I did it, I wrote a letter to myself, and I forgave myself for the shit I was carrying around that I've done in the past. And so we did this letter ceremony during the retreat, and I'm telling you, man, I didn't really know how it would go over. Like you're like, hey, I'm putting this out there, and Adam was on board because he knows about the letter ceremony stuff too. I was like, let's try it and see how it goes. And it was super powerful to see these individuals that attended write this letter, take their time, pour their emotions into it, and they set it on fire. And I'm telling you, when they walked away, man, they all looked 20 pounds lighter. It's like all the weight that they were carrying around for no reason was gone. And they were able to kind of be free and be themselves and open up a little bit more and get new direction, whether it be ending a relationship or blowing up your business. It's really about taking that action and letting go of the past that you're holding on and step forward. It was really, really cool to see.
That's amazing. That really gets me. The more I think about what you're doing now, and I listen to Angie a lot. Angie's always telling me about like meditating and how she does yoga and like how I need to start doing those things. Have you told me a bunch of times, as well as Moose, about meditation. And I'm very curious about these retreats. It actually has me thinking, like, do I want to go to the one in October? It's never, and yeah, you know what? I can say it. I definitely want to go to the one in October. For me, I just never book anything because I just know what the hell is going to happen by then.
Yeah.
Because I don't know where I'm at, where I'm going, all those things. But I definitely find myself so much more interested in these things. And I think more so now because of 75 Hard and how it makes you read every day.
Yeah.
And that was a big, like, I don't read, bro. I don't read. I don't want to read anything. I read like the box score of yesterday's game. That's about all I do. But now I'm reading all these books. I'm like, trying to break bad habits, trying to better yourself. I actually started reading the Sincero book, having bad habits. I'm reading Michael Hartman's book, the formal fitness dude. Yeah. So I'm reading that book, and actually I cracked open Dan Clouser's book. Because I might be in different parts of my life every day. But reading all these things make me like start to open up about, going on retreats or talking to people or trying to get rid of the weight. So I definitely dig what you're trying to do. It's very inspirational in a way to hear you do these things, especially when I met you and you were just some dude at the chamber that day. I just work here and, it sucks.
like most people in the world, right? Yeah. And it's been a massive growth thing for me, and a lot of that is like, and what you're talking about is like, hey, maybe I would go to these retreats, or maybe I should dive into this kind of, or look into it, right? And it's really because we all have these limiting beliefs in our life. And this is something that I've been talking about a lot lately because I've broken through many limiting beliefs in my life. Like, can I be a successful entrepreneur? Can I be a good boyfriend? Can I do all these things? And the last one was that wellness pillar of, can I be in shape? And I was like, why can't I do this? Like I would, through my whole adult life, it was lose the weight, gain the weight, lose the weight, gain the weight. And I was never really in like crazy shape, and I would never really focus on it. I would never commit to it. And I wasn't sure why. And I did a deep dive towards the end of 2020. And I realized what happened was, just to backtrack really quick, when I was 12, I broke my first hip.
Yeah.
When I was 14, I broke my second hip. And so over those years, when you're supposed to be growing, and kids that age, they eat like crazy, right? So I was eating like crazy, but I had no physical activity. And so I became a chubby kid, and then lost it, and then gained it and lost it. And that was literally the next 20 years of my life was that. And I realized when I did this deep dive into myself of like, why can't I overcome this? I realized I had a limiting belief around my physical fitness, because when I was 12, a doctor said to me, you're probably never going to be able to be an athlete. So you just kind of have to own that. And I was like, I need to break that limiting belief. And I realized through the course of my life what you have to do to break limiting beliefs. Number one is get uncomfortable. Whether that's doing something hard like 75 hard, or making a financial investment that might stretch you a little bit, or going to a retreat that might stretch your mind and your spirit a little bit, or whatever. So that was number one. Number two is surround yourself with the right people who are going to support you in that journey, no matter what limiting belief you're trying to break through. And number three is take action. And I realized 75 hard and doing that with my girlfriend, Lauren, was hitting all those marks. One, I got uncomfortable. Can I work out you guys covered it last week. We don't have to go over the steps, right? But can I do that, right? Get uncomfortable.
Right.
Number two is have the right people around you. Like I was saying from day one of 75 hard, so I can rewire my brain. I was saying to Lauren, I'm an athlete. And she's so phenomenal. And she just goes, yeah, you are. Right. And she supported me from that standpoint. And then the third one was I took action. I woke up every single day for 75 days straight, and I checked off every single thing. And I was able to finish that, not only 30 pounds lighter, not only in the best shape of my life, not only training like an athlete, but I broke through the limiting belief of I can't be that. And I've continued to take on a lot, or if not all, of those habits every single day after it too. And so that for me has really been that's an easy thing that you can literally copy and repeat in any little thing you have in your life that's limiting belief. And so when it came to these retreats, I was like, how do we bring that into this whole thing? And so, yeah, we did things that made people uncomfortable, not in a weird way, but we did some things that made people uncomfortable. And then, we've given them the support system by bringing the right people into the retreat, and now they're taking action. And I was like, holy crap, like this is something that anybody can easily do. 3 steps to literally go accomplish anything you want in your life. And it all started with, can I do it physically? And I was able to do it, and now we're able to pour it into anything we're doing.
Bro, that's remarkable. I think it's crazy. I think you're a different dude. I think 75 hard definitely changed you. I think
he's just built different.
He is built different.
For
sure. He's definitely built different, but I knew you from the chamber days. So to see where you were then to where you are now, definitely, 180 degrees. It's great to see you, where you've ended up, which is, again, amazing. But I want to bring it back a little bit. So you broke your hip, both of them.
Yeah.
You said 12 and 13?
12 and 14.
12 and 14. Yeah. So how the hell did you do that?
It's not as cool as it sounds, by the way. So I had what we didn't know until I was 14, but I was born with a growth plate deficiency in my hips. So I just had weak growth plates.
Right.
And so at some point in my life, they were going to shatter. The doctors just didn't catch it early, right? And so the first time I was skateboarding, and it shattered into 5 pieces.
Jeez.
Which was crazy. That ended up being a number of surgeries. And then the second time, I literally, not even kidding, I was sitting at the dinner table in my dad's apartment in Ocean City, New Jersey, and I stood up to go to the bathroom, and I turned, and my leg just fell out of the socket. And I remember this clear as day, like it was yesterday. I took a step. I fell. My dad literally looks at me, knowing that there's a chance the second hip was going to go. We just didn't know when. And he goes, no, get up and try and walk again. So I literally got up and tried to take another step, and I fell again. And then that's when the other surgeries came about. So 5 surgeries later, and months and months of rehab and being in wheelchairs and crutches and stuff like that, I was able to, I feel blessed now that I can do the workouts that I got through 75
Sure.
hard. I can do all that stuff. It's not without pain, right? Like there's definitely some pain in there. There's some achy joints and all the other stuff. But that was a limiting belief. Like it was all mental. Like, oh no, I can't do that because of my hip. Well, why the hell not? I never tried.
Right.
And so yeah, it was just crazy. But it's a growth plate deficiency thing.
So like how?
Make that a T-shirt. By
So
the way.
it's a growth. There you go. So I'm just very curious about it. So you said you had all these surgeries. Is it the same hip, and because you were just still growing, they were able to just like let it? So this is gone now, or?
So yeah, I mean, when all the surgeries finally wrapped, my mom asked the doctor, like, when will he need a hip replacement? And the doctor was like, when he's in his 70s, just like anybody else.
Okay.
So what ended up happening was the first one was shattered so badly that when they put it back into place and pinned it, they couldn't get it all the way back in. So they were hoping that it would be okay enough, and it wasn't. So what ended up happening was, timeline wise, it was after the second one. After I broke the second one, they went back into the first one, cut my femur bone in half, turned it, put it back into place. And for 9 months, I had something called an external fixator. So I had like 5 pins sticking out of my leg with a big bar connecting it.
Wow.
So that was for 9 months. And then what ended up happening was it shortened my left leg because they had to like turn it, and so there's a height discrepancy or whatever. By the way, Jason knows all about. He's got to know what I'm talking about. He knows this
He
stuff.
probably does.
Yeah. And so what they ended up doing was they went into my right leg because they were hoping. So I hit a growth spurt at 14. I went from 5'4" to 5'8", almost overnight. And so they're like, okay, he's probably not done growing because he's only 14. So they went into my right knee and they scooped out. So your growth plate's actually a liquid. So they scooped out part of my growth plate to slow the growth of my right leg so the left one would catch up, and it never caught up. So that was one of the 5 surgeries. I think that was the last one. I don't even know anymore. But it didn't work, needless to say. I didn't hit any more growth spurts. I'm still 5'8", unfortunately, which has been a bummer my whole life. But it didn't work, and it never caught up. So I have that discrepancy, and that's what causes the pain and everything in between.
Jason just replied to you and said that's a whole podcast in itself.
I love it.
Dude, so that's crazy. So you have this crazy hip thing. You're limited even back then. But even further on in your life, one of the things that, I do have to bring up, even though you might have heard this a million times, you came from a very intense childhood and background where you were telling me that you literally should have been nowhere near where you are today, just based on the fact that your father was in jail and your mother had an opioid addiction. And so how do you get out of that, bro? Like, how do you just I know like Angie was saying, you're definitely cut from a different cloth, but that's a killer background.
Yeah, a number of things. One, I can just take it back to my parents had their own issues, but they were great parents. So I was really, really fortunate that no matter what crazy idea I had, no matter what I wanted to go and try and attack, my parents would fully support. They were like, yeah, go do it. So I had massive love in my life. But when, like you had said, when you look at those statistics, right, they say if your parent's in jail, you have a 50% chance of ending up in jail. If your parent's an addict, you have a 50% chance of being an addict. Do the math, I'm 100% screwed.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, I had a 1.7 GPA at one point in high school. And so you look at all this stuff and you're like, yeah, you've got no shot. I didn't go to college. I didn't do these things that they say you have to do. But what ended up happening was when I was 19, I got a job in direct sales. And the mentor that I had when I worked there handed me a book called Who Moved My Cheese,
Mm-hmm.
which is the book I recommend to everybody. And essentially the book talks about how things are going to change around you, and that stuff doesn't matter. What matters is how you react to that change, and how you react to the things, and how you control yourself. And it not only obviously spoke to me personally in my life, but it also kind of led me into self-development and understanding that there's these mentors that I can go buy a book, or I can later down the road listen to a podcast or whatever, right? And I realized that I have this infinite ability to learn things that I'm passionate about. I sucked at school because I could care less about the right angles.
Right on.
You know what I mean? I don't care. But when it came to, pursuit of living a better life, I was into that. And so I became obsessed with learning, and I became obsessed with the whole motivational side of things. And I was like, ooh, this feels good. And so that then led me into a desire to want to be an entrepreneur. And I tried a couple things and failed miserably and did all that stuff. And that led into the idea of the podcast. And I was like, well, let me start a podcast where I interview entrepreneurs and learn from them. So I can go take what I've learned and put that into a business, and then maybe I'll be successful. And then obviously everything changed 5 months before I launched the podcast when my mom passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And that led me down a completely different direction of talking about overcoming adversity and everything else in between. By the way, can you tell I've done 3 podcasts today?
Yes, I can tell. I was like, I just watched this episode, and Kevin's when he made you do your life talk.
Yeah.
I was like, Justin's so much more prepared than I am, and I was very impressed by that because I was watching it, that night, and I was like, damn, this guy has it on lock, and which is why I tried to change things tonight, because I didn't want to be just a regurgitation of what you've been talking about. And Angie does some amazing research, even though she says, Dad, don't tell anybody that I do it and she's gonna hate me, but she works really hard.
I'm kind of creeped out what's on that page. Yeah, I don't really know what you dug up, because there's a lot of stuff out there that I even forgot that I said.
Trust me, I got the dirt on you.
Pages that look amazing, and she has all these great questions on here, and I always tell her, I was like, look, when you get a chance, just cut in and ask questions for yourself. So I'm not trying to make you regurgitate things, but I just want to know more about you, man. I know we hang out and we just chill and we play cards, or we're just always doing our thing. But when growing up, you also had sisters, So I know you have sisters. What was it like, I guess, growing up with them, even in these crazy environments? And how do you think they helped you overcome all these things that you were going through?
Yeah, it's weird. So we have, there's a 5-year age gap between all three of us. So my oldest sister is 5 years older than me. My sister that's a little bit older than me is 2.5 years. So 2.5 years in between each of us, 5 years total. But it was also at the time when all this kind of started to hit the fan. Like my parents got a divorce when I was 12. So I was in middle school. My middle sister was in high school, and then my oldest sister was in college.
Okay.
And so like we were there to support each other, but we were all kind of in separate worlds. But I have very strange memories of I've actually never shared this on a podcast, so you got that.
I wanted to do something different, man. I had to, we had to.
And so I remember my parents used to fight all the time, and like and this is nothing special, right? Like a lot of kids deal with this.
Fought,
Yeah, and so I remember one night specifically, my parents were going at it. And I remember the three of us in my sister's room, and I mean, we were super young. I was probably 9, 8, 9, something like that. And I remember all of us just like huddled up crying, like not knowing what was going to happen. And we all woke up the next day and everything seemed fine. It was like one of those weird moments. But I kind of go back to that a lot. And then also as we got older and then we're able to reconnect, I mean, we were there as a support system for one another through and through, and we still are. Right, they're still two of my best friends. I love hanging out with them. I love supporting them. They're in New Jersey, so I don't see them all the time. But we're all there to support each other, man. Like they were my staff at my live event. So that was just a really cool moment. And unfortunately, you missed it because you were buying this building.
Yeah, you know what happens. Hey, I was trying to grow now, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, but it was great. I was able to pull them on stage, and my dad was too. And it's just really, really neat to be able to celebrate with them, right? Like that was a great accomplishment for me when you do see what I went through, and then all of a sudden at this live event where 160 people from all over the country and Canada came to, and it was bizarre. Like it was like almost an out of body experience, but I was able to share that with my family, who we all, at the end of the day, we all love and support each other. And I think that's the main thing. Like if you're in a position right now at home where you don't have that love, find a way to find it, right? Either create it on your own, right, within the household, or go out and find it somewhere else, not in an inappropriate way. Like you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. I miss my siblings. I haven't seen them since 2019.
Wow.
COVID.
Oh yeah.
COVID's a terrible thing.
Yeah, I actually saw I saw my one sister this last weekend. I couldn't see the other one because of COVID. Yeah. So they got it. They got bit. They got bit. Yeah.
No, we've been lucky. We've been doing our thing. I think the way we treat ourselves and treat our bodies have definitely helped us from becoming one of the statistics. But my parents are they're getting their second vaccination next weekend.
Oh, good.
And once they get that, then I'm going to head out there and finally see them. It's been a long time, man. Haven't seen them in a long time, and haven't seen my siblings. So it's cool that you guys still have a great relationship together. Love all my siblings. They're freaking awesome. I heard from my brother over the weekend. My sister texted me today, and we have this awesome group chat where we just shared dumb shit all day from TikTok, which I love because my favorite one recently was this dude that tries to well, first of all, there was a funny one where this guy was like trying to hold the flashlight for your dad growing up, and it's like some funny shit, and I was like, that was me and stuff like that. So yeah, man, thank God for I guess technology in that aspect. But yeah, when I was growing up, man, my siblings were my best friends. That's who I had growing up, in the house, and I understand. I mean, my parents are still together. They're still rocking and rolling, but I got the whole argument thing, and that can trip you out, man. Like I still remember like this one really bad fight that my parents had where, I mean, it was like terrible, where my mom was like packing shit up, and I was like, dude, what's going on, man? I can only imagine like, what you were going through, and like, with your dad. Like, now about your dad, when did your dad go to jail?
That's a great question. I think I was 16 when it happened.
So you were old enough to like know what the hell's up.
Yeah. And so the thing is with that, and what I say about my dad, it's not my story to tell, it's his. But the thing is, like the love has become immense. Like he's been my biggest cheerleader. He's one of my best friends now. We've healed the wounds, right? So it's funny. We started chatting about this. We had a really in-depth talk. This is probably pre-COVID, so 2 years ago. And there was a moment where I didn't talk to my dad for 7 years.
That's heavy, man.
It's a long time. And when we finally reconnected, it took some time, but we healed and we were able to kind of get really deep. And we were sitting down one day and he thanked me. And he said, thank you so much for breaking the generational habits and the generational trauma that we were carrying from time to time, how relationships between kids and parents were our whole lives. He's like, you broke it. Like, literally, you broke it. And was it easy? No. He's like, but I'm grateful for those 7 years, because without them, neither of us would have grown to be where we are now. Like, who knows if I didn't take that 7-year break from him, if we would even be close now. And I'm so grateful. I mean, I was the best man at his wedding. I just feel I'm grateful for the fact that we have the relationship we have now, because he's a massive support for me.
That's a great point, man. Ange definitely took a leap in a sense. Like, you didn't talk to your dad for 7 years, and you broke that, that gap he was talking about when Ange, like, what's crazy is that me and Ange, we get along so much better now than we ever have before, which is sad in a way for me. But Ange was like, you know what? I'm out of here. She bounced. She left the house, man. She was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
She couldn't get into it anymore, man. And I remember feeling so crappy for like 2 weeks, right? And I was ready to just be like, you know what, whatever, man. She wants to go, she can go. I got to do what I got to do. And then after a couple weeks, I remember saying, don't be a dick. Like, text her, see what's going on. And started texting her, and then we started talking. And then, she's telling me what she's up to and what I'm up to. And it just, like, changed. So I give a lot of credit to Ange for doing that, because if it wasn't for that, I mean, who knows where we'd be at.
And now look at it.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Now we're like a dynamic duo, but it was never like this when I lived under that roof. I'll tell you something right now.
She's never going to let it down. She's always going to bust my chops about living in my home. It's really not
always,
that bad.
But I love him.
I didn't think it was that bad. But I feel what you're saying. And, it's great that you had a relationship with your dad. I love my dad. I mean, we had definitely had our ups and downs too growing up, And what's funny is I was thinking about him a lot today, because I was getting my hair cut from the one and only Ryan Terracin at Modern and Traditional. Looking great today. But Hotel California came on. And me and my dad, we were at each other's throats for a few years there, like high school years. I'm a high schooler. I don't listen to the music he likes. And, I'm just being a terrible teenager, as always. But I still remember this memory of me and him in the blue van he used to have. And Hotel California came on. And I was like, oh, turn it up. My dad was like, you like this song? And I was like, yes, it's a great song. And I used to play that song with my buddy Jim back in Long Island and Coram. And I still remember, I have a vivid memory of that day. And I feel like that song and that moment changed everything. So it's always like those single moments. Like, you had that with your dad, and I had that Hotel California moment. And then Andrew's like, fuck you, I'm out,
Yeah.
But now, that texting. So it's insane how, like, these little things in your life can just change everything. And it's so cool that you had the balls to do that, man, because it takes a lot of courage. A lot of people just don't have the courage to do that. And you're so right about the generational gap. There's still things I like about the old days that I still think should be used nowadays.
Come on, you're Mr. Tech. Look at this setup.
The technology aside, but I dig it. I think it's cool that's what you had to do with your dad. That's admirable, and that you guys have such a great relationship now. You told me a few things, and I think it's killer, man.
Yeah. I'll say this too. I interviewed a guy named Sean Stevenson, who he unfortunately passed away about a year and a half ago. He was known as the 3-foot giant. So if you've ever seen him, if you saw his picture, you'd be like, oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. And I interviewed him, and he shared about how he had to cut his family out of his life for different reasons than me. And I remember this moment so vividly, because here's this guy who's one of the world's top motivational speakers, who has been able to mentally conquer so much in his life. And we're sitting there chatting. I'm like, I understand. I go, I didn't talk to my dad for 7 years. And I said the same thing. We're super close now. And he stops the whole interview. This is all live on my podcast. But he stops the interview and he's like, can I ask you a question? I was like, yeah. He's like, how did you know when you could let him back in your life? And I saw this emotion in this man who was like, I love my family so much, but I have to make this tough decision. It was never about not loving my dad, just like it was never about Angie not loving you. Right. But it was about what is best for me in this moment. and it was never meant to be forever. I certainly didn't think the last conversation we had was going to be the last conversation for 7.5 years.
Right.
But at the same time, it was needed because I needed to grow as a person, and he needed to grow as a person, and we both did that work. And when we came together, it was just, this made sense, And I think the key is you have to continuously grow. If I was the same person or he was the same person 7 years down the road, it would have just been the same shit show it was before.
Yeah, for sure.
And so you have to grow. You have to make the changes. You have to kind of do the inner work and realize the things that you have to work on. And I think that's the issue a lot of times when we look at relationships or we look at certain things. Like, we always want to blame the other person because it's easier.
God, I'm so guilty of that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we all are. I mean, I'm definitely guilty of that. But when I realized I can take ownership of what I can take ownership of and try and make those improvements, and then I let the rest go, right? And I say, okay, how do I become better? Like, I look at, I'm super fortunate to have a great partner in my life, Lauren, who's so supportive and loving and driven and all the things, right? I wouldn't have been able to have her as my girlfriend if I didn't do the work and make the mistakes before, right? I went in these other relationships where I was terrible, bro. I was a terrible boyfriend. Like, I wasn't good at it. I wasn't trusting. I wasn't all these things. And I hired a relationship coach. And I remember the one day we were having a conversation and she goes, what do you want in a woman? Like, what do you want in your partner? And I told her, I outlined it. I'm like, this is what I want, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, now, are you the person that deserves that person?
Huh.
And I was like, oh, I'm not.
Sad reality.
And I had to do the work.
Yeah.
And I had to get some self-love going in my own life. And I had to do all these things. But taking that cookie cutter thing from before, I got uncomfortable, surrounded myself with the right people, and then I took action to get better, right? Like, that is literally, it's so funny. The reason I keep saying it now is because I'm literally having this realization now that this has been everything in my life. Like, literally, to become the person you want is those 3 simple steps. And it sounds easy, but the getting uncomfortable part's a little tough.
Oh, it's the worst part.
Yeah.
And it's funny how you mentioned, you're saying, do you deserve this person in your life? And how people don't even take care of themselves. But they want relationships. They want all these different kind of people in their life. They want these great friends. But why is taking care of yourself so hard, you think? Like, because I'm finally doing it now.
Yeah.
I'm 42 years old. I'm 13 days in, right? And I'm thinking to myself, Fred, why did it have to come to this?
Yeah.
Like, so why do you think it's so hard for people to just even take care of themselves, dude?
Well, it's the harder decision, right? It's a lot easier to kick back with a beer. It's a lot easier to not work out. It's a lot easier to eat a bag of chips versus, some asparagus. By the way, I love asparagus now. I used to hate that shit.
You gotta make it right, but it's good.
Yeah, you gotta make it right.
For sure.
Well,
like
Lauren
Brussels
makes
sprouts.
it right. I'm not taking the credit for that. Lauren makes it right.
I bet you that.
But with that being said, like, it's the easier route to not take care of yourself. And I think sometimes that the results of not taking care of yourself creep up on you. And you kind of just go, oh, shit, what did I do? I really messed this up, you know? And then you have to then do the hard work. And I realized this time around, especially after 75 Hard, like, this is just my life now. It's not about taking care of myself. This is just who I am. And I think taking ownership of this is who I am, like me saying, oh, I'm an athlete. I'm clearly not an athlete. But in my head, I'm an athlete. And I'm going to start eating like an athlete. I'm going to start training like an athlete. I'm going to live my life like an athlete. And that has been a world of difference. Like, you start acting as if. Like, I have a dear friend of mine who hates the whole, act as if kind of saying. He's like, no, just be who you are and then do the work. I was like, but the acting as if makes the work easier. It makes it almost subconscious, right? Like, if I wake up every morning and go, I'm an athlete, do you think I'm going to be more inclined to go sit on the couch or move my body in some way, shape, or form?
Yeah, it's like manifesting it.
Yeah.
Right. Which is just a huge part of my life. I've come to realize manifesting things, at least for me, it works. When I sat there, and I still tell people how, like, I was sitting in that old office. I was like talking to my buddy Bob, 2 doors down. I'm going to get a building one day. Then I'll finally leave. I'm going to get a building one day. But I just kept saying it to myself, not knowing what I was doing. I was just trying to be positive in my own mind. Like, I'm going to get a building one day. I said it out loud. And then this fell into my lap. And I was like, wow, it's manifesting things. And then I had a great conversation with my friend Anel Saponis, and she said, well, yeah, that's because, you asked the universe and you put it out there. And like, we started getting into these great spiritual conversations. But the manifestation thing is huge. And who's to say you're not an athlete? Why? Because you're not on the cover of Sports Illustrated? Like, fuck that. If you're an athlete, you're an athlete, dude. I mean, you look like one to me, bro. I mean, you look really good.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
So what the hell? Why not?
Yeah, dude. It's funny. Like, I visualize every day. It's one of the things it's not negotiable for me. I have a visualization practice I do every single day for 5-10 minutes, sometimes even longer. And it's really about manifesting those things that I want in my life. And I realized I literally visualize to the point where it's already real. And then my actions take me there because it's already in my head that I'm that person that deserves that, right? Like, I remember the day of my event. Now, keep in mind, I mean, I've gotten nervous speaking in front of 10 people before. So the day of my event, which is this huge thing where I'm in control of pretty much everything. I'm like, I got to make sure that the light people are in place. I got to make sure all the sound is right. I got to make sure all these things are. I went to bed at 1:30 in the morning and I woke up at 4:30 in the morning and I was like in there helping set up and doing all this stuff. And then I had to talk throughout the day and do all these things and be on point. And somebody came up to me the morning of the event before we kicked it off. And they're like, yo, man, are you nervous? I go, no, I've already done this 10,000 times. And that's really how I felt. There was this great calmness in me that morning because I had already done it 10,000 times. Now there were things like I had this reoccurring dream. This is kind of funny. I had this reoccurring dream leading up to the event that I was standing at the registration table, which by the way, I was not at the registration table anyway, but this dream, I'm standing at the registration table and nobody showed up. Oh. And this was like a reoccurring dream that I had no control over, but I played through that from the music to the dancers to the speakers to how the people would react to the lights to everything. And the only thing that was different from the day of my event to what I had in my head was in my head, the screens behind the stage were bigger. Here's the crazy part. All I had to do was ask for them to make it bigger, but I didn't know that. I was like, yeah, man, I thought the screens would be bigger. He goes, you should have just said something. We could have made them bigger. I'm like, shit. But that was the only thing that was different. And I really believe it was that visualization because what ended up happening was that visualization became so real that I didn't accept anything less. And so I did the work I had to do to sell it. Dude, my podcast gets played in 100 countries every single week. I thought at first I would announce this thing and tickets would fly out the door. Not the case. I mean, I sold 160 tickets. Like I said, they came from all over the country in Canada. It was actually 16 states in Canada. We were already at 18 states in Canada for year 2 before COVID shut it down. But with that being said, it was literally one phone call at a time. Like if somebody would like my status update about the event, I'd message them. Wow. Be like, hey, would love to have you there. Oh yeah, I've been thinking about it. Cool, we should hop on a call. And I'd sell a ticket. Now I'd be on the call for 45 minutes. I make a lot more than $140 for 45 minutes of my time these days.
No, you do.
And so with that being said, but that's what I was passionate about. I'm like, I'm not accepting anything less of myself. And it worked. And then I was on my way to get close to 300 for year 2, 300 people, which was, mind blowing. But again, it was the visualization process of like, this is going to be real. Like I just dropped a bunch of money on a house in New Orleans for this retreat because I know it's just going to be successful. I know it's going to be sold out. I know that, the 18 people that are supposed to be there are going to be there and their lives are going to change. And
is there more than 18 people on? I mean, did you have 18 people at the last one?
No, we had 9 people at the last one.
9 people.
So this one's 18. It's actually 2 houses that are right next to each other with a shared backyard and a pool and all these things in New Orleans. It's beautiful, man. Like we have like outdoors in the yard. We're doing yoga there. There's the pool. And then the last night in New Orleans, we're creating a huge experience somewhere out in the town. So just really excited about being able to kind of create that space for people.
That's killer, man. I'm really going to look into that one. I really am because I've
got a payment plan option.
It's not the money, bro. It's not money, man. I know it's worth it. I'm not worried about that. But if you have a payment plan option, that's a little okay. We'll talk about it off air. I don't want to divulge too much information, man, for sure. So I had like 20 questions in my mind, and they're all gone. Oh no, wait, here we go. The live event. Unless you got something, Ange?
I was just going to interject about Facebook. We got a couple people talking on here.
What's up?
So we have Liz Hafer. She mentioned that Who Moved My Cheese is a very good book. She enjoyed that book.
Yes.
And Robert Morris said Justin Schenck is awesome. Thank you for having him on to share.
Oh, thanks, man. He actually just went through my podcast course, which was fun. It was my first online course that I truly did. I've dabbled in it before. It was my first one that I truly did, and he was a part of it. It was cool having him.
I'm definitely going to pick your brain about that later. I would love to do a podcast course. So then we have Ian Kovsky said, Freddie's the man.
Oh, thank you, Ian.
And then I think your dad might have said hi.
Dude, my dad is literally on everything that I do, and I love it. He shares out everything. He's commenting. Dude, he really is the number one fan, man. Number one fan. I love it. And I'll say this, and I don't know if he did this. I mean, I'm sure he did it just because he loves me. But when my mom passed away, when I announced it on Facebook, like when I put it on Facebook, just to let the world know, because I'm like, how do you handle this? Like, I'm connected to a lot of people, and like even then I was, and it's nowhere near compared to now, but like even then I was, and I was like, how do I handle this? And I put this post, and I put, unfortunately, last night I lost my biggest fan, and I don't know if my dad realizes that, but he stepped into that role, and I think it was almost like a subconscious thing. Maybe he read it, I have no idea. But yeah, man, I'm so grateful for him.
Yeah, man, that's killer. Chuck Balsamo said, nice studio setup. Thanks, Chuck.
Oh, dude, Chuck's the man.
I hope to meet him one day. I do. I really hope to meet. I love his posts, and I see the things he does. And Becker's on. Little things often turn into big things. Thank you, Mr. Klauser. He's on. Christina, we love you too. Christina Becker says she loves us.
She's the best.
So thanks for everybody for jumping on. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. And this bad boy will be available soon. We'll be up on YouTube on Thursday. And if I can get the rest of my podcast up, then I will get yours up. I'm not doing them out of order.
We're going to figure that out tonight.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do.
We'll be into it. All right. So a couple more comments for you guys. Stefano said that with like when we were talking about manifestation and things like that, he said that like it hit him when he was almost like 300 pounds with high blood pressure in college. And that's when he was like, oh, now I have to like fuck shit up and change things. And then he told us to keep it up and keep kicking ass with the Heart 75 and just you in general. So Andre Young said a great duo and great job, Justin. Lauren Blackford said...
that's my girlfriend.
She said, close it, Justin, smiley face.
She's talking about the retreat. I love it.
Oh, right on. So, man, you did mention the event. So what do you think, dude? Because I know one of the things that Angie let me know, she says that one of your goals is Santander Arena, 4-day event. So what's the deal, bro? You had the virtual one last year. You had the virtual one this year. I'm pretty positive in saying that we're gonna have something live, soon. So what are you thinking, bro? So you have anything?
You're putting me on the spot. I'm not. I really wish that I could do it in September. I don't think that's gonna happen. Just from here's why. I just told you how much work it is, even to get some butts in the seats, and now you have the issue of the fear of COVID on top of that to get butts in seats. In order to make any kind of money and not lose everything you've ever worked for financially, you have to have butts in seats. It's just how it works. I'm working with my coach now currently to potentially reimagine it in a way, to maybe do a hybrid version of like a live/virtual, which I'm not in love with. I enjoyed the virtual events for what they were. I don't think I'm going to do another one to that scale again. For a number of reasons, but it's just that's not what feeds my soul. And I've made the commitment in my life to not do anything that I don't think is fun. And so I don't know if that'll ever come back in that way, but here's what I will say. There will be a live event again. I don't think it's going to be September. If I had to say, it'll probably be May of 2022. We can kind of start looking at that and see what we can make real. I can also say I've got some connections and some relationships in the works that I'll bring names to Reading you've never seen before. You can never imagine that would come here to speak at an event in a town where there's no airport.
And there is an airport.
Well, yeah, but you can't fly into it unless you're like private jets, which most of these people that I'm talking about have private jets, so maybe they will fly into Reading.
Okay.
Yeah. So with that being said, yes, there will be a live event. We're just not unsure of when. And yes, that Santander Arena visualization is still in the works. It's funny. I interviewed this guy recently, also named Justin. His name's Justin Breen. He came on my podcast, and I guess he was listening to a couple episodes before he came on, and he heard me talk about this 6,000 person arena vision that I have for Reading. I think you could fit 6,000 people in there, right?
I thought you could fit more than that.
Okay, well, 6,000 is the number that's in my head for whatever reason. It's good enough, right?
Yeah.
And he literally came on, and he goes, man, I felt it. He's like, I know that it's going to happen. And he's like, and I'm going to be there to cheer you on. And so it was just really cool to like have that reinvigorated in me to be like, this has always been the vision. Because here's the thing. We shared a lot of my story during this conversation and where I came from and everything else in between. I feel eternally grateful every single day to be able to connect with the people I do, to make friendships with them, to build businesses with them, to do incredible things with them. They've changed my life. I mean, the people that have been on my show, everybody from you to Chuck, who commented, to Andre, to Fabio Viviani, to Albie Manzo, to all these incredible people. I want to be able to give that same opportunity to whoever else is willing to put in a little bit of work. And so that's kind of where the idea of the live event came from. It was that whole, how do I deliver this opportunity that I've been able to build for myself with a microphone and bring it to people live and in person? And so that's still the goal, is to continue to give that to people who have a little bit of money and a little bit of time on their schedule to come. And by the way, by a little bit of money, like we're talking, my live event was like what, like early bird $97 for a 3-day event, 2-day event, something like that.
Cheap.
Super reasonable.
Yeah, super affordable. And that was always the goal. And every single person that I'm close with, every single one was like, bro, it's way too cheap. It's way too cheap. Like, and I was like, that's the point. I want to make it accessible. Now, are there levels you can level up to and get into masterminds and stuff like that? Yeah, 100%. But I was like, I want to make it accessible. And that's always going to be the way my event is set up. And so the goal is to fill that arena one day. Does it take time? It takes time.
Sure.
You know, I talk about goal setting a lot. And I talk about how you can have these huge goals, but you take it in bite size, right? Like that 1% growth every single day. Mm-hmm. If I'm like, I want to fill an arena 6 months from now, I would literally be frozen in fear that I would do nothing, and then that would never happen. But I said, I want to fill an arena with 6,000 people 7 years from now. So how do I do that? 150 the first year, 300, 600, 1,200. Okay, cool. I could double this in size every year because you like the event. You're going to invite a friend. And then it continues to double in size. So that was my vision behind it. You know, pour into those people that showed up to the first one, whether it was 30 or 150, and then have them come back. Now, COVID hurts the momentum a little bit. But I continue to sit here and go, you know, this is my passion. I pour into it, and I hope people feel that, and they come and be a part of it. And let's fill an arena.
I think you're gonna do it. I personally think so.
I know you're gonna do it.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I know he's gonna do it. I had so much faith in you last year. I remember saying, "Well, I'm definitely going." I was actually honored that you asked me to speak at the last year's event, which was awesome. But I bought 2 tickets just to give away to people, because I wanted them to go to this thing. I have no doubt that you will definitely feel that, and it's going to be killer. And I think when it happens, it's going to be, in my mind, when Reading's also on this crazy upswing. I have all the faith in the world that things are changing. Yeah, I see these little things happening around, and some of them are not so great or not so quick, or maybe I don't agree with everything, but I think it's going to get better. It's a lot sooner than later. And I think that's going to be one of the things that happens, is you're going to have this crazy event, and it's going to be a lot easier for you to even fill that arena. And I think it's going to be quicker than 7 years for sure. Yeah. For some reason, something in my head says, nah, I ain't going to take 7. That's too long. It's going to happen quicker. And the revitalization of Reading is going to be part of that. So that's going to be killer, dude. So I'm definitely happy to hear that. You know,
Moose said 5 years, 4 if you work hard.
So 5.
Because he's lazy. This dude's lazy, right? Fucking 5 years. So that's killer, man. So, all right, cool. I'm definitely looking forward to the next live event, because you're right. The virtual event thing, like, it's cool. You did it. You had to do something. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of virtual anything. I fucking hate Zoom. Yeah. Right? I do it because I have to. Yeah. Like, I can't. Like, all these bands doing shows virtually. I'm like, really?
It's not the same.
No. And maybe because I'm older, whatever. I don't like it. Yeah. But I love the podcast. I think this is just cool to just hang out with people and talk. And like, there's no way in hell I would ever remotely come close to the vibes. Because even though the first event I was only there for like 1 session, I loved it. And I think it was awesome. I'm so proud of you that day too, man. Like when you walk into that place, and I was like, this motherfucker got all these people in this joint.
Yo, that was wild though. Dude, I have to say, when I came out on that stage, now obviously I prompted it. I was like, my visualizations couldn't come true, and the screens were prompting. I had this video playing, like, get on your feet, all that stuff. It was the loudest I ever heard a room. Yeah. Like, I was like there's actually a photo of me when I like walked out. I had my hands up in the air. I had the biggest smile on my face because I was like, I was just like, holy shit. Yeah. Like, I didn't think that it would be this loud. I thought maybe some applause, maybe a woo, but it was insane. And I was like, holy crap. Yeah, it was a crazy moment. And then me being me, I immediately went, now imagine what that's like with 6,000 people.
Well, yeah, why wouldn't you think like that? Yeah. I mean, people that are successful and are doing great things like you, we never think about like, oh, that was cool and that's it. Fuck that. No way, bro. We always want to take it to that other level and, continue growing. So for sure. I mean, that was a killer. That was killer, man. That was fucking cool. Like straight up.
No, I appreciate it, man. It was fun.
I dig it, man. So what do you got going on, man? What's going on with the podcast? Like what's coming up? I mean, we know you got the thing in October. That's killer. Event probably next year.
Yeah.
So what are you doing with the podcast?
So I've got some exciting guests coming up that I actually had a phenomenal conversation today with Allie Levine, who's a celebrity stylist on Bravo TV. But she's just, dude, we got deep, and then afterwards even got like deeper into conversations about some things that I won't bring up here, but like really enjoyed connecting with her. So her episode's coming up, and then actually next week. So the workouts that I did through 75 Hard were Beachbody workouts. So I did a lift workout and a boxing workout taught by a guy named Joel Freeman. I'm interviewing him next week, so really excited about that. And then also Ricky Williams, the former Pro Bowl running back, is coming on the show next week as well. So I'm interviewing him next week. I don't know when it'll come out. But really excited about that just because like he's such an interesting individual. Yes, and he's really deep into the spiritual path. And so I love those conversations. I'm still the tip of the iceberg in that whole entire journey, and I'm learning more just being friends with Adam, as you know. Learning more and more every single day. But it'll be fun to dive into his life story.
Next week.
Dude, yeah. So
I can't wait.
Like think about like all this crazy stuff. Like he used to wear a helmet with the black visor on during interviews because he had social issues. Like he had issues talking to cameras and stuff. But this guy was a Pro Bowl running back. And then he turned to marijuana to treat his issues, and they kicked him out of the league.
Yeah.
And then I actually was reading up on it, and he went to the Canadian Football League for a year. And he chose to sign with Toronto because there was a yoga studio in Toronto that he wanted to teach at. This is a guy who was an NFL running back who chose a team in the Canadian Football League because he wanted to teach yoga. And then he went back to the league for 5 more years and crushed it.
Yeah.
Like Pro Bowl running back for 5 years in the league after that. So I'm like, let's chat. Like and honestly, man, people are always like, how do you get these big names? I literally message him on Instagram.
That was going to be one of my questions, too. Like, how do you do that, bro? How do you, like, talking to, like, even, like, Angie made a big point. You got to talk to Bert.
Oh, yeah.
Bert.
I met him. I wanted to say that the whole podcast. I met him.
So Bert, actually, I think here's my big cool thing. Like, I interviewed him, but he's got, like, 2 million followers on Instagram. He follows, like, 800 people. I'm one of those 800. I think that stuff's cool. I got introduced to Bert. So Fabio Viviani, who was America's Top Chef, and now he's a really good friend of mine. He ended up introducing me to 50 people, like via email, like all celebrities and like all these people. And one guy was a guy named Zane Lamprey. He hosted a show on the Travel Channel called 3 Sheets, where he would just go around and get drunk.
Nice.
Yeah, not a bad gig. Not
Simple
a bad
man.
Gig. And so I interviewed him, and there was this whole mishap of him like missing the interview time, then rescheduling, and I was like, come on, bro. And right before the last time, I get an email from him. I'm like, he's canceling again. And he goes, I swear, if you don't show up this time, you're dead to me. But it was him every time. Like he was joking, and he felt so bad. He's like, dude, who can I introduce you to? He's like, do you know who Bert Kreischer is? I'm like, yes, I know who Bert Kreischer is. He's like, you want to interview him? I'm like, yes. And so literally like the next week I was chatting with Bert Kreischer. So that's how that one happened.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. All right, man. So, I appreciate you. Thanks for coming in, man. I know we tried this once before and it was like all screwed up and stupid, but I got Angie now, so everything's going great.
Dude, let me say, like this setup, how you've been handling yourself as a host, the conversations you're having with people, like we talked about the one with Dan, was absolutely phenomenal. I love Dan, by the way. You brought up the postcards. I love getting postcards from that guy.
Man.
It's so good. And so phenomenal job, honestly.
Thanks,
I'm excited to see where this goes. Fred Talk, did you take that from TED Talks?
Yeah, pretty much. They're like, well, it's a Fred Talk. I'm like, yeah, that's it. I mean, how is it not Fred Talk? I mean, realistically,
you are the brand.
Yes, I'm trying, but you know what? Ange is a major reason why this whole thing works. She actually handles all the recording. She does all the streaming. She did all the research. She puts the videos up on YouTube. She does a lot of work here, man. Like, yeah, my
pull
face
that up.
is a
Pull that up,
everything,
Ange. Pull that up. Can you pull
Okay,
that clip
we're not
up?
that far. I'm not Jamie yet. I'm sorry.
By the time next time I come on,
For sure.
do that.
We'll be cooking with Chris Godin.
There we go. Dude, where does everybody find you, man?
So wherever they're watching this,
Yes.
I might be tagged, or wherever they're listening, they can just search the Growth Now movement. But Instagram's my favorite place to hang out. So
Right on.
Justin T. Schenck on Instagram. They can follow me. Good luck spelling my last name. But you can try and find me over there. But other than that, yeah, I mean, I'm grateful for your friendship, man, and I'm grateful for this conversation, and hopefully we can do it again.
Yeah, we're definitely going to do it again. I appreciate you, and thanks for coming on and sharing a little bit about you and for being just a cool-ass friend. I appreciate it, man. So, all right. Thank you for checking out this episode of Fred Talk. Visit us online at FXVDigital.com or your favorite social network at FXV Digital. Check out past episodes of Fred Talk on our YouTube channel and make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. Also, what we're adding is we just got this stuff up on podcasts. Audio versions are actually available in all kinds of places. Justin's going to help me get it on Apple because apparently I can't do it. But it's on Spotify, so check it out on there. And for Justin, Angie, and myself, thank you for watching. And never forget, your Uncle Freddie loves you. Peace.
Before we go, your dad said he loves you.
Oh,